right, welcome everybody to the trading room. Let's do a quick mic check. Some settings here on the OBS have changed, so I'm just trying to make sure everything is in place. So if you can hear me, guys, if you can type a Y in the chat, it will really help me understand you're with me. I believe it is coming through. Okay, seems like we're good. Audio is coming through, videos coming through, so let's just get into it. Guys, welcome everybody to the trading room. My name is Saul, glad to be with you. Before we get started, remember this is going to be just the way I read the markets, and nothing I show here or I say here is not meant to be a specific buy or sell signal or advice or anything. It's just the way I interact with the markets, read the charts, analyze the charts. So it's all for educational purposes. Just make sure to be responsible for your own trading. As usual on Mondays, we're going to go through the calendar to see if we have some events. Volume is really low. Wait. How's that now? I think it's improved a little bit. Yeah, I believe it's better now, guys. So Mondays, we're going to go through the markets, to the daily charts, see if we have long-term opportunities, what's happening in the markets. From these large time frames, we can get an idea or a bias of what's the next big movement. Okay, and then if we have time and opportunities, we'll go to the lower ones, and we'll try to make some money. But just remember not to follow along. This is just the way I manage my trades. Okay, guys, let's share my screen here. Wait, getting there. Bam. Okay. Sorry, guys, I'm fighting a little flu or something. Just apologies for that. Let's start with the calendar. We'll go through the index dollar, and then we'll jump to the charts. So nothing to be worried about today. Tomorrow we have the policy rate. That's basically the interest rate in Japan. But we're not expecting a big surprise over there. And if we go to the details, where is it? That one. You see, Japan really very rarely they move their interest rates, and almost never there's a surprise between what's forecasted and what's the outcome. So I wouldn't expect at the end of the year to be the exception. So I don't think there's going to be very at the event time will bring some volatility, but I don't expect any surprise or movement that it's not already priced in the market. And that's why it's even the policy rate is not even as a flagged as a red high impact announcement. But of course the press conference might be more volatile, or traders might try to get some hints of where the monetary policies of Japan is going, and maybe taking some positions. But I don't expect, besides volatility during the event, nothing else. And then Wednesday we have the CPI in Canada. Last week we already had a CPI in the US, so that affects the US pairs. So Canada against other currency pairs, maybe not the US, might have an impact. We expect lower inflation which, surprise, is good for Canadian economy, but not as good as for the Canadian strength, relatively to other currencies. So we'll see how that looking in the charts for a minute. If there's no surprise, this should be already priced in the market. We shouldn't have a lot of new trends starting as from this announcement, unless the CPI comes higher or much lower than expected. Then we might see a lot of movement in the Canadian dollar. So we'll have be careful with this one. I think this is the most important for the week. Consumer confidence, bit of volatility, but not very relevant. I wouldn't flag it as a red one. Nothing on Thursday, and then the GDP in Canada, which besides volatility, not much. So for this week, just be ready, prepared for the CPI in Canada, especially if you're trading Canadian pairs against other than the US. The Canadian US tends to be more based on the US dollar movement than the Canadian movement. But do be careful with if you're trading other pairs, Canadian pairs against other things. And of course, if we go to the next week, as we go to the end of the year, you see we have no high impact news. Not sure if we're going to have a live trading rooms, but nothing on Monday, nothing during the whole week. Institutional is going, traders and institutional are going out for holidays. We just tend to have a lot of low volume, sideways movement, not a lot of trend initiation, and volatility and volume tends to be back on the 6th of January. Sorry about that. So basically this week is going to be the last volatile week of the year. Next week, very quiet one. Let's see how's the index, the dollar index, and the dollar index has pulled back. But if we notice, some fine detail of how this movement been formed, and this is a very nice example of how price behaves, because we have this movement right here, this first part of the movement. Wait, I don't want to extend right. We have this little movement right there, like the impulse, a nice pullback to the downside, and then we have a different type of price formation, which is this one right here. Okay, which is more like a channel, a compression. So this is a strong movement, and since then we have changed into a weak movement. And what's happening now is this weak movement might be approaching strong buying zones. Okay, so if this channel is going to continue that way and meets a strong buying zone or buying area, there will not be any demand, any supply across the channel to prevent a strong movement, in this case to the upside, okay, to a strong dollar. So fundamentally it's hard to understand why this happened, because we saw last FOMC and CPI coming weaker. So we expect maybe a few more interest rates increases in the US, maybe up to 5%, but that's kind of it. So I don't understand why this should suddenly gain strength and go to the upside. But if I leave aside the fundamentals and just stick to the technicals, this is a great buying opportunity. Okay, this is what you see me looking all day, all the time on the 1 minute chart and 5 minute chart, and every time you want weak movements like this, weak balance movements approaching strong areas. So that's a weak movement. I don't quite see a very very strong area in this side to start a movement up, but this is certainly a weak movement. Okay, as different than this one. But here, if I were just technically buying trading this, I would be looking for buying opportunities. Okay, that's it. So let's see, let's go to the charts. We'll see how's that be reflecting. I see, yeah, it should be looking at my charts. So this is the euro, and it's basically the same as the dollar index, just little difference. We do have a more clear supply area back here that I don't quite see it on the dollar index, but I do see it on the euro USD. So we have that same strong push up followed by weak movement up, approaching that strong supply area. So if there was no news, nothing but technicals, I would be shorting this, since I believe, especially after we had the CPI and FOMC last week, that movement right there and that movement right there to the upside, that was the opportunity to break the supply area and make this or turn this into a swap zone, okay, previous supply that becomes demand area, so a strong movement to the upside, and then making this turning into a demand area. But that didn't happen, actually quite failed. On the dailies you wouldn't notice there was FOMC or CPIs. Okay, we have this candle right here, or this candle right here. They look much stronger and more important than these candles right here, where the CPI and the FOMC happened. So there's not a lot of interest around those strong announcements last week. So if I need to choose a bias, I go short. I will start shorting this market. My stops need to be above the supply area. And if there was, if you see me trading this on a 1 minute chart, I start building my short positions up until that setup is no longer valid, which would be right here. Okay, but on my intraday trading, I've been trading something similar, but on the pound, a similar pattern. I've been actually shorting this market because of the daily bias, which I see looks very, very bearish from the dailies. Now, if we zoom in a little bit to the hours, we can see the channel there. We do have some 1 hour key areas. We have that was probably the CPI or a strong announcement, which created a demand area. But we also have the supply area there. We'll see how that's formed on lower time frames. So we're kind of in the middle of nothing. We're stuck in that sideways movement, pushing lower a little bit. We might go to the demand area. There might be a reaction to the upside, but as we go up, I would be looking to short this market. Of course, everything depending on how's that being formed in real time. If we go to lower time frames, we can see the reaction. We had one push to the high side, and we have the complete reversal to the downside. That's a very bearish signal. That's a strong supply right there. Nothing much. Maybe if we go for intraday opportunities, we have some supply over there. Weak demand back here. There's no follow through. There's compression right after, so there will be support, but we should be heading towards that area later on today. So we might have some movement to the upside, but I will be looking to short, targeting that area, potentially breaking that area, and then going to demand from the hourlies, which is down here. And that same pattern, we'll see it's similar on other currencies. So if we go to the pound dollar, we see the weak movement. We actually see that bearish day, which is much stronger than we have on the euro. Let's see how is that formed. Okay, we have the movement formed, and we have a very strong mid-range supply. So if this market approaches that area, I will be shorting. Right now, we have tested through the day. We've tested this previous support. If we tested with a little bit more strength, we might break that to take us to demand, which is down there. Again, if I have to pick a bias from the dailies, I'm bearish. I wonder if there's also like divergence. I see the divergence. I want to see if the indicators confirm that for me. If we throw like a MACD or our RSI, let's see. Okay, so we've been forming, you know, the higher highs, what looks like higher highs, but we're not increasing in volume. Maybe a little bit, but not as significantly. Let's see how that looks on the MACD, kind of flat, and looks like wants to turn. So I don't know, not a great confirmation from the indicators. Just that's what I see with my eyes. Of course, you see me all the time on the lower time frames also being wrong. That's why risk management and trade management is so important. But my very next trade would be a pullback to that area and then trying to short, and then keeping my stops above that area. So yeah, so anticipating kind of a turn from this market. That's for the pound USD, especially as we go to the, you know, low volatility periods of the year. I don't see this, you know, breaking hard to either direction. I think we're going to slowly move to the downside or slowly move to the upside. We're going to, you know, maybe some sideways movement. So that's for the pound. Similar for the Aussie. We have just train your eyes to find these patterns. Look at the difference between this push, okay, this impulse, against that weak movement. Okay, so you see the difference, that the pole and the flag, and as we approach, you know, supply areas, that might be the reaction. And then let's see if we have some follow through. Let's see how is that form. On the hourlies, we have mid-range supply, and we have the extreme supply. So pullbacks towards that area, I would be selling. Sometimes those also aligned, you know, to Fibonacci's and but I don't really use this a lot, but I guess that's the 23. That might be I guess that's the 23, and that should be the 50%. So around the 50% we have, or the 38 and 50% we have that mid-range supply, and then of course the 100% retracement would be the other supply. So when Fibonacci's work out is because there's supply and demand also there. Okay, so a pullback towards that area, I would be trying to sell that. Let's see how's the USD CAD forming. We are expecting the interest rate. Leaving that aside, we see the bearish, you know, the weak movement approaching a strong area. Okay, so we had this pattern here. We pushed down strongly. That created. Let's try to see it closer. So that created a supply over here that has been tested already, but also a supply back here that hasn't been tested yet. And we're approaching that supply area on a weak way. Okay, look at this weak movement where, you know, along the way we're testing demand. So if we get to an area where sellers are interested in selling this market, there will be no buyers along this channel to, you know, prevent this going all the way to the previous lows. Okay, probably I guess there will be some buyers there, but after that we're going all the way that. So if there was no news, and usually we get to the key areas at the moment of the news. So if I need to guess where is this price going to be on Wednesday prior to the news announcement, I think it's going to be around this area, and then we'll see the reaction. With this either becomes a demand area, a swap area, or the supply area holds, sellers are active again, and we push all the way either to this area or to this area. Okay, but without fundamentals, we have strong movement down, weak movement up. So I want to be selling this market. Okay. Dollar yen, kind of moving nowhere. We're stuck in this consolidation. Few weeks ago we had nice price action. We had a push low, pullback, push low, new supply here. We tested that. We're kind of holding there, but we're just not going anywhere. So I don't have a clear picture of where is this heading. So I will not, I'm not looking to do anything special with it. And we have stock market very bearish. We're heading towards demand. Let's try to make that even more specific. Yeah, kind of that area. And I don't see much stopping this price to go to that demand area. From there we should see a reaction, but if we go back to the hourlies, we see how many supplies area we have. So we have extreme, we have supply, we have supply, we have supply. So if this market now creates like channels, weak movements towards that area, those are great selling opportunities. And I guess people are not very confident yet to go to the stock market. Maybe they see a 5% return on their cash, better than taking the risk to go to the stock market, to the S&P, and trying to get 8, 9, 10% a year. So they can get 5% in the bank for the next year. If the interest rate is going to increase to 5%, there's no point maybe for people to go to the stock market and get 3% more a year, okay, with all the risk implied. So maybe that's what we see here. The fact that interest rate are higher and expected to be a bit more higher, all the way to 5%. People just pulling money out of the stock market into cash again. And let's see how's the commodities going. We've got gold. We had a really nice rally up, but again weak movement afterwards. So it really looks like the forex market in this case. After the push lower, I do want to keep my bullish bias. When inflation goes up and everything, we tend to see a strength in the commodities, in metals. Metals. So I do. There's really nice demand across this channel. So after a push to that area, I will be, buying more and more and more. For a very long time, there wasn't much buying signals until not long ago. We had finally this movement. That was a very fundamental movement on the intraday, even intraday. And this movement to the downside has been kind of a channel, a weak channel. So if there's suddenly more buyers, we might see this market going all the way to these levels, or probably these levels up here, close to the 1900s. So yeah, that would be it. So for now, depends on the news. We might see the pullback, but after the pullback, I would be happy to keep buying gold, aiming to these higher levels. What I think about franc yen, I do tell you now, it's not a chart I trade, but let's have a look. look, I don't see much. It has been moving like sideways, and we had already news interest rates for the Swiss franc, and we're not expecting a lot of change from the Japanese yen. So if the Swiss franc announcement didn't cause a break of this channel, I guess we're continuing, especially for the last week of the year. And I would approach this just as any consolidation. When we go to the tops, I try to sell. When we go to the lows, we try to buy. Let's see if there's supply and demand there to base that. So this last movement, we have a nice supply area there. So I would wait for a movement to that area, and then I would sell. The demand is not as strong. Okay, it was like a weak movement down here, and then a push higher, and then just weakness. So just based on late last price action, I would be more inclined to short. But of course, last push and that last trend was to the upside. So just I'll be buying very carefully. I will be selling very aggressive, I guess. Okay, I wouldn't hesitate on short this market. I don't know how how far can we go to the upside, but I will be buying slowly and carefully in case this breaks down, because there's no much. In case that breaks down, we might go all the way to this area right there. That's a lot of pips. So sideways, rangy, bit bearish for this pair. Just my view. But again, it's not a pair I follow. Okay, let's see if we have some opportunities. What do you think? I was, in the morning I was trading a little bit of during the morning I was. Let me just go ahead and. Of course, the market knows I'm starting to sell, so it decides to go up. See if we can build a little bit. Short position. Do not follow along, guys. Do not. I'm just testing the waters here. Let's see if we can have the turn. We need a reaction from, just a little bit of resistance over there. Let's see if we can have a reaction from this area. So we just tested. Let's see if we have some follow through. What are the spreads right now? Why didn't I get triggered there? Pound. Yeah, so as we go to the end of the year, that's also good to remember. There's less volume, and the liquidity providers, brokers, everyone tend to widen their spreads. So if you used to zero spreads, 0.1, 0.2, do expect that to go double or even tripled. So just a side note, okay? Okay, that last candle was a little bit strong, bullish candle. Overall, the movement to the upside has been weak. Okay, we have nice reaction to the downside, especially this, this pullback, this impulse here, and this channel has been a weak channel towards that area. So I want to be shorting. I'm fine shorting that. Not concerned, but just being mindful of this last price action and kind of with the market opening right now, maybe the momentum will be to the opposite. So I need to be careful with that. If this picks momentum, I'll just take the loss for that one. Let's see. So we don't have a lot of I need to also adapt my targets to market context, okay? Because we don't have a lot of trend, we have a lot of choppy movement, so it makes more sense to scalp than to swing this market. So let's take also into consideration. Just trying to get the turn in this market, and you see how we go down and then the buyers get active. So I want to get to the point where the turn happens. Let's see if it's here. Yeah, some follow through. Nice. Let's build that one. Let's see if we have some follow through. Now this area has been already tested. So if we get a movement to the upside now, we might have, a breakout to the upside, and then we have next supply. We haven't tested that one. So I would build more into my short, and that would be it. Because if we break that area, then there's nothing else up until that area. So that would be it. Okay, the turn that I was waiting for on the 5-minute chart, I see a target area right there. That should be, the scalping target area. More than that. That would be kind of swinging, which by the market context, I think is less efficient right now. So let's try to get easy targets. I don't want to make the market work hard for me. Okay, let's just help him grab those profits. Struggling. Yeah, it didn't take it. So I now expect a movement to the upside, maybe resistance around this area reacting, and let's see if we can have some follow through. And you see the tail activity both sides. It's a very choppy market, hard to trade. If you're not used to this, just take your profits. Or don't trade at all. So it's a good time of the year to review your goal. How was your your trading, your trading plan, your development as a trader. Yeah, I needed to take profits in this one. See the strength coming into the market. I'll just build it off. I was a bit greedy. I need to take profits. 5 pips, 6 pips. I was at some point 7 pips of profit. That was good enough. Was a bit green on that one. But if the weak movement continues, okay, we just check this demand over here. So we might go another leg to the upside, And as long as we continue with the weak movement, we don't break this very strongly, I will short again. Okay, I just didn't want to hold my open position or run into a drawdown. We have checked this with this demand. Okay, with this movement, we're going up. Let's see if we can have a little bit of divergence approaching the supply, and then I'll be able to short again. Okay, that's the plan. What I think of pound yen. Let's have a look at that. Sorry, New Zealand yen. You like the hard ones, huh, guys? You know, these are very, very hard to read. You know, we have, just look at the dailies and see how many tails you have. That just the choppiness on the dailies is amazing. Okay, so I don't know what's your view on this pair. I don't know what's your strategy. I'm sure there's some opportunities here. The way I read the markets based on supply and demand, I only see this supply. We have this strong movement to the downside. We have what looks like a demand area. We need to see if that was indeed a demand area, and we are right there. So we have a weak movement approaching this strong area, what it looks like a strong area. Let's just make sure it is. Yeah, it looks quite strong. So my way to go would be short, but I don't know, all time frames look the same, you know, see channels so that's a very challenging market. Hard to tell you what would I do in this market. Just because of where the market is, makes more sense in terms of risk reward to short and having your stops up there than to buying and having your stops have no idea where. Maybe here or there or there. So I don't know, in terms of risk rewards, would make more sense for me to short at the supply area, at the supply level, and stops up there. But I don't know, I really, this is a very hard price action for me to get something out of it. So sorry if I don't have a clear answer for that. Okay, the structure is the same. We're still in the channel. We have the balance of buyers, of sellers. If we approach that way a little bit higher, nice area to sell. We're just a bit earlier. And we had, for the first time, not a higher high, but a kind of a mini double top. Let's see how the strength behind that. So had a highs, we have a flat one, and we have flats and kind of going down. So that's extra confirmation to what I see to the downside. So any pullback to the downside, again, new opportunity to sell. That's a well-aligned setup, because we're aligned to the dailies. We say we're kind of short. To the hourlies, we say this, you know, the supply, and then on the 5-minute chart and 1-minute chart, we see this weak channel towards strong areas. Okay, the same pattern we're seeing on the dailies, weak channel towards strong areas. So that's a nice day. Guys, I think I'll wrap up. I need to go to a meeting, but yeah, let's stick around to what happens next week, and on Wednesday for the CPI. Ruben will be here tomorrow. Jordan and Ruben together on Wednesday for Trade Delicious London session, and next week we're running the marathon, guys, so make sure you subscribe to that. We're going to be, this same setup that I'm looking right now, the weak channel towards strong areas. I'll be covering that in more depth, more detail on my presentation on the marathon. So make sure you attend. I'll try to give you some guidelines on how to spot those and some rules. So I hope, I guess it's going to be beneficial. It's going to be pure education there, so it's going to be fun. Guys, thanks for coming. Thanks for staying. Always fun. Trade safe. See you guys.